Alright, welcome to another Bat Rap. So, I think I'll have these out every other week. That's the plan. Hopefully I can keep to that schedule. I do have other things in the pipeline that I want to get out there, but we'll see what happens. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into the Bat Rap. So, today's battle is between my Drukarhi versus some Space Wolves. Now, here is my list. My list is 3 patrols, so I can get the raiding force bonus, which grants me 4 command points. I also spent 1 CP for Alliance of Agony to give each of my characters a warlord trait. And I also spent 3 CP to put my witches into the webway, the witches and a succubus. So, starting with the first patrol, we have Cabal Blackheart. Pretty standard, really good with the Agents of Vect, which just allows you to cancel out anyone's stratagem at the cost of 4 command points. But as you'll see in this game, it really came in handy. Also, just giving everyone +1 on the power of pain and everything feel no pain, which my venoms I greatly appreciate. So we got the Archon, bare bones, don't really care about him. He is my warlord. So the warlord trait that I gave him was Labyrinth of Cunning, which anytime any CP is used on a roll of a 6, I get a command point. Works for me, works for my opponent. So it's just a good way to generate some command points. He also gave him an artifact, Writ of the Living Muse, which allows him to give a 6-inch aura to anyone around him to reroll 1s to wound. Other than that, I got 3 units of 5 Cabalite Warriors with blasters and venoms, just standard venoms, nothing upgraded on them. 2 Ravagers, 1 Ravager with 3 Disintegrator Cannons, and 1 with 2 Disintegrator Cannons and a Dark Lance. Moving on to the next detachment, we have a custom Coven. So I went with Dark Technomancers and Masters of the Mutagens, which is, so Dark Technomancers is I can overcharge like Plasma, and I get +1 to wound and +1 damage to all weapons I choose to overcharge. So it works just like Plasma, except I don't immediately die on a roll of a 1. They'll just take a wound, since the majority of people using this will be vehicles and monsters. And as of Masters of Mutagens, it's just any poison weapon roll of a 6 to hit is an automatic wound. So in conjunction with Dark Technomancer, if I'm firing my venoms, which this mostly benefits, any rolls of a 6 is just an automatic wound, which is make those weapons also damage too. So leader, we got Homunculus. His warlord trait that I gave him due to Alliance of Agony was Master Nemesis, which allows him to get +1 to his wound. Weapon-wise, I gave him the Electro-Corrosive Whip, which is a poison weapon that is 2 damage. So with this, he'll be wounding on 3s if he ever gets into combat, with a -2 2 damage weapon. I think it's good to have, especially when you're going against Space Marines. And seeing how he'll be walking up with the big blob in this army, buffing them, it's a good chance he might get into combat. So, for troop-wise, we have 3 units of Rax, nothing special. They're just there for objective holding and the Venoms, which all of them have. And we got 2 units of 3 Talos, with Haywire Blasters, Chain Flails, and Marco Scalpel. So, this unit here, mainly here to just pump out a lot of shots. And get into close combat. Primarily, I want to go against some vehicles because I have Haywire Blasters on them. But they're still pretty good with a Strength 4, -1, 2 damage weapon if I choose to overcharge them. So they still have their uses even if their vehicles aren't out there for me to blast. And moving on to the last detachment, we have Cult of the Cursed Blade, which is a witch cult. And in this detachment, all there is a succubus with Quicksilver Fighter, which just allows her to always strike first no matter what, and the combat drug of +1 strength, and a Shardnet and Impaler as her weapon, and a 10-man unit of witches with 1 Shardnet Impaler, and the combat drug +1 attack. I put them into reserve because I don't want them getting shot up, and if anything, I want them to be into the back line to disrupt anything that he might have. That was my mindset behind that, because we all know that witches with a 6-up invul save against shooting, 6-up feel no pain, not gonna last long. Not gonna last long at all. But that was my list. So the main goal here was to move up the Talos and the Homunculus up the middle of the board to meet whatever threat is out there. The Cabal Venoms were meant to go around, get me table quarters, and pick up any little unit chaff or poke any little units they can. The Coven Venoms, which is just all the racks, were to go around and do basically the same thing, but find any Marines out there that they could hopefully destroy with their overcharged shooting. And Archon was just going to sit back with the 2 Ravagers on an objective and just pew pew across the board. That was my plan. Now, here is the Space Wolf army. So he went with a battalion. He's got Ragnar Blackmane as his warlord. He's got a lieutenant in Phobos armor, a Primaris lieutenant with frost weapons, with the frost weapons on a mastercrafted power axe. He's got, for troops, he's got a 10-man squad of assault intercessors, 3 5-man intercessor squads. For his elites, he's got Hounds of Mordkai. Not really well against Dark Eldar since we don't have any psychers, but can still put out the damage. He took a unit of 8 Hounds of Mordkai. Then he took a patrol where he has a Herald Deathwolf. He has a lieutenant on a wolf with lightning claws and the armor of Russ. He's got a 5-man unit of Blood Claws. He's got 2 5-man Grey Hunter units with 2 plasma guns in it. His Wolfguard Terminators with 2 Storm Shields, Power Fist, a Chain Fist, Thunderhammers. For his fast attack, he has Thunderwolf Cavalry, just running across the board. And for heavy support, he has Long Fangs, all with 4 las cannons on his Long Fangs. So overall, it's a pretty scary list. Definitely something I don't want to be in close combat with, because I'm a weak, dainty Eldar, and I cannot handle something so powerful like that. As you'll see in this bat wrap, as some of my great combat prowess. So, moving on. Mission that we got Vital Intelligence. We deployed on our side of the board. For secondaries, he went with Bring It Down, Data Intercept, and Domination. And for my secondaries, I went with Engaged on All Fronts, Assassinate, and While We Fight, We Stand. And the units I picked were, or that I had to pick, I didn't really get a choice, 2 units of Talos and the Ravager with 3 Disintegrator Cannons. So, first turn. I lost the roll-off, so Space Wolves got to go first. Now don't worry, this will not take long. The first turn was pretty much a turn of nothing happened. So all the Space Wolf player did was run up his Grey Hunters on the board. Took 2 objectives that were in the open area. Then he ran his Assault Intercessors, Ragnar, Lieutenant, all to the middle of the board as much as he could. He was very turtled up, so not much was moving in a sense. It was kind of just like a light blue gray ball, a blob. And then he had to move out his Long Fangs if he wanted to take a shot at anything, since everything was hidden as best as I could. Oh, and then with the Blood Claws, he decided to do the action, to do the data intercept. Onto the shooting, the Long Fangs shot into my Grey Ravager. He wounded for 2. I saved it with my Power Pain save, and yeah, I only took 2 wounds on that 1 Ravager, so nothing happened. Intercessor shot into my Venoms. didn't do anything, and Intercessor shot into my Talos, doing nothing. So was not a very great shooting phase for him. Definitely could have done more with the long things, but luckily I made a good save. My turn one. My turn one was a bit more things happening. So the first thing I did was move the Rack Venoms over to the 2 Grey Hunters, hopefully to blast them off the objective. So I moved one onto the objective, and the other 2 had options to shoot at which Grey Hunter, Grey Pack unit that they wanted, hopefully killing them. I moved my Talos up down the middle of the board, and I moved the Cabal Venoms to the side where I can see his Wolf Riders and a couple of Intercessors trying to sneak an objective. Then I move my back Ravager up so he can see and is no longer hiding. Shooting phase. So, in the shooting phase was pretty good for me. So, starting with the Ravager with the 3 disintegrator cannons, shot into the wolves, and I killed 2 of them, wanting to hold off on my Ravager so it could have other targets, such as the Long Fangs or characters, or the Assault Intercessors were the targets I was looking at. So I held off on that and went with the Venoms. So for the Cabal Venoms, everyone inside and the Venom itself, they all shot into Intercessors, and I shot a blaster into the last wolf that was still there. The first Venom that did this failed. The blaster failed, it missed. Didn't do anything. I think I killed like 1 Intercessor. And with the second Venom, the blaster hit and killed the last guy, which we took out. And that Venom and everyone inside shot the Assault Intercessors, because we needed to get that big blob under control. Then I moved to my Talos, my 6 Talos, and I decided to overcharge all of them into the Assault Intercessors. And it went surprisingly well. I took about probably like 3 wounds total with my overcharge, and I killed all but 2 Assault Intercessors after that. So after demolishing the Assault Intercessors, I went to my Grey Ravager, and I fired my 2 disintegrator cannons into the Long Fangs and my Dark Lance into the Lieutenant with the Lightning Claws. And I killed about 3 Long Fangs, and the Lightning Claw Lieutenant didn't take any damage. Now, moving on to the Venoms against the Grey Hunters. This went horribly wrong. Absolutely horribly wrong. So, the first Venom that I shot was into the Grey Hunters that were furthest away from me. I managed to kill 2, took a wound for overcharging. Not too bad. The second Venom I shot, overcharged, took 2 wounds, and didn't kill a single guy. And the last Venom I overcharged, I took 3 wounds. I managed to kill 1 guy out of that entire shooting. And at this point, I was sweating, because the whole point of that risky move was to kick him off the objective so he couldn't score any of those points, and I wouldn't be worrying about getting assaulted. Well, unfortunately, that's what's going to be happening next turn. So, overall, in his morale phase, one of the Long Fangs failed the morale, so 1 ran away, still had 2 left, which I wasn't really too worried about after eliminating basically his long range. So turn 2, he brought in his Hounds of Mordecai, his Terminators from reserve. He also, unfortunately, forgot to move Ragnar and a Lieutenant in his movement, which I didn't catch till he mentioned it. But as we all could guess, one of my Venoms, which helped destroy the Assault Intercessors, basically got met with two characters on wolves. The other Cabal Venom got met with some other. Basically, all my Venoms got met with some Intercessors to the face. Very close was his move. The Terminators deep struck in my deployment zone next to the Ravager with 3 disintegrator cannons, hoping to get the charge off there. And the Hounds of Mordecai spawned on the opposite end of the table where the Rack Venoms were. Why he spawned over there, I don't know. Because, I mean, he spawned with a Hounds of Mordecai and a Lieutenant in Phobos armor. But in reality, those Venoms wouldn't last long, regardless of the amount of shooting that he's about to be dumping into them. So, here comes the pain. So first thing he did, he overcharged his Grey Hunters into the Venom. He rolled a 1, killing one of them, and not doing much, or doing about 3 damage to the Venom. Then the Hounds of Mordecai finished up the Venom, forcing the Racks to bail out. The Grey Hunters into the Grey Venom, they utterly destroyed, because they still had 2 Plasma. The Intercessors in the back, dealing with the Cabal Venoms, not having too much luck. The Venoms are still strong and kicking. He only managed to do about 3 wounds to one and 1 wound to another, and that was pretty much his shooting. It was a lot of destruction on my Venoms. At this point, I have 1 Rack Venom left, 1 Cabal Venom has been destroyed, and 2 are about to get assaulted in close combat. So, in his assault phase, as is expected of the Space Wolves, he charged everything, and this is when he noticed that he didn't move his Ragnar and the Lieutenant in, which comes in key later in this battle. So all my Venoms get charged, and my Racks, and it goes about as well as you expect Space Marines charging paper ships and people who wear no armor. Everything gets crushed, destroyed, hopes and dreams forever lost. The only thing that worked well was that 1 Venom 2 Venoms managed to live. 1 Venom in the back that got assaulted by Intercessors, nothing happened. And 1 of the Rack Venoms also lived. So, surprisingly, that helped. The Racks that were in the back, they got completely destroyed. The Racks that got out of the exploding vehicle on the other objective, 1 managed to live, but obviously didn't do anything. But all in all, we were doing pretty well. I forgot to mention the score. Mention it now. So at this point, he didn't score anything turn 1, but he scored 15 points at the start. Held 2, hold more objectives, 15 points for that. For Bring It Down, he managed to kill, like I said, a lot of Venoms, so he was able to score 6 points off that. And he got Data Intercept off as well, which I don't know if I misread it or not, but basically from what I understood was every objective that he's holding while he does his action, that's how many points he scores. So he was only holding 3 objectives, and he got 3 points for that. So start of my turn, I get 5 points because all I'm holding is 1 objective, which my Archon. Oh, I forgot to mention the Terminators tried to assault my vehicle. He rolled a 7. Failed charge. He goes to command reroll that charge. I use my first Agent's Effect to make sure that that charge doesn't happen, and I rolled a 2. So he got refunded the point, but he could not do that action. Whew. Saved me. Now, the start of my turn, I have 2 points for engage on all fronts from turn 1, and I score 5 points for holding just 1 objective. So not much movement happened. I kept my Talos where they were because I didn't want them to have line of sight blocking when I was trying to shoot at the Grey Hunters that basically destroyed my Venom and Rack unit. So I retreated that 1 Rack guy out of the way, and I kept my Talos where they were so they could just take shots over there, wipe out that unit if needed. Well, not if, as needed. My Ravagers, I didn't move because I was pretty confident that 15 shots plus a Dark Lens would be able to destroy all the Terminators. So I kept them where they were. My last Coven Venom, I was not in combat. I moved closer to his Blood Claws that were continuously doing the data intercept. So I was hoping to kill them all off right there with an overcharge shot. My Venom that was in combat with the Intercessors in the back, the Cabal Venom, I moved to the corner to just get out of line of sight. And the 3 Cab White Warriors that I had left got out of the Venom after the Lieutenant destroyed the paper mache boat. I moved them onto the objective to contest and hopefully kill whatever was left. As for the Succubus and Witches, I decided to hold off on a turn to see what will play out. I could have put them in. I could have done what I'm going to do turn 3, but I wanted to see where he was going to move his Hounds of Mordecai. So I decided to just hold off on them one more turn. So, in the shooting phase, my first unit of Talos failed to kill the 4-man unit of the Grey Hunters. So I had to use my second unit to clean them up, which they did, thank God. Really needed them off the objective, which I'm looking at now. I regret moving my rack so far away. I wish I moved him a little bit so he would still be on the objective. Seeing how I moved him out pretty much in the open, so he was going to die regardless. But that was the hope. I should have just tried to hold him on that objective. Both Ravagers shoot into the Terminators, and I only killed 3 out of the 5. The 2 Storm Shields held up a bit, plus, the 3 armor, so... Sorry, 4 up invul save, and 3 wounds, making my 2 damage awkward, doing damage to them, but we killed 3 out of the 5. So I'm a little hesitant there, because I didn't move my boats, so now they're definitely going to be within close combat range next turn. And the Chain Fist is pretty nasty against vehicles still. My last Coven rack, Venom, goes and shoots and kills 3 Blood Claws. And I was like, oh, not what was according to plan. And of course my Cabalite shoot into the Intercessors doing pretty much nothing. Didn't do any damage. So that's dirty needles for you. They can't do anything against the power armor. So, the assault phase. I charge both my lieutenants. I charge both my Talos into the lieutenant. And that's my only charge. I should have charged my Venom into those Blood Claws and just sacrificed the vehicle just to stop them from getting data intercept, but I wasn't. That thought didn't come into my mind until just now, but it's what I should have done. So the Talos charge in to the lieutenant, and they just kill him. They take him out. When you have 30 attacks coming at you, do 2 damage each. It's a hard time of you living off that. And that was the only charge that I got. So moving on from that to my points, I get 3 points for Gauge on all fronts because I got that Coven rack Venom to the other side table corner, and I still had my rack, that 1-man rack on the other table quarter. So I was in all 4 table quarters, and I got Assassinate, which I killed that lieutenant with the 6 Talos. So right now it's looking at 24 to 13 at the end of turn 2. Turn 3. So, as is expected, he moved up his Terminators closer to my Ravager, moved up Ragnar and the Lieutenant up to the Talos. Whatever the plural is for that. Move both characters up to the Talos. That's pretty much it on the movement phase. He moved his Hounds of Mordecai closer to the Coven Venom, and then continued to do data intercept with. So at the start of his command phase, he got 10 points because I did manage to tie him in the amount of points that he was holding, thanks to my Cabalite warriors in the back contesting the objective. We were unsure with one calling. So at the end of his command phase, he gets 15 points because he's still holding more objectives than me. And he gets another 3 points for data intercept, since he was holding 3 objectives still. Would have been holding 4, but I was contesting the objective in the back with Cabalite warriors. And he only had 3 interceptors, so it was a stalemate. So, shooting phase. He shot his Long Fangs and characters into my unit of Talos unit, managing to kill 1 off in the shooting phase. That Talos took two las cannons, character shooting, and intercessors shooting at him, and I only lost 1. The Phobos Lieutenant was petty and killed my last rack that was just chilling out by the building. Just straight up sniped him. And he shot the Cabalite warriors that were contesting the objective, only leaving 1 alive. Now the charge phase. So he charged the lieutenant. I'm gonna get this confused. Okay, I think he charged the lieutenant into one of my Talos unit. He charged another lieutenant into the other Talos unit, both successes. He also charged intercessors into them. Then he tried to charge Ragnar, who failed his charge. So I then again evicted him, so he couldn't get that charge off, leaving poor Ragnar out in the open for the next shooting phase, hopefully. So he started with in his chart. So the first combat he started with was the Hound of Mordecai into my last Coven Venom, which he has completely surrounded, and I kind of just removed it because it was not going to last through all those attacks. It didn't blow up, unfortunately, but everyone inside is dead because of it being fully surrounded. And there goes the last of the overcharged poison shots. It did okay, I guess, but they're all gone. So I decided to interrupt him, spending 2 CP, my last 2 CP, and taking my 3-man Talos that was assaulted by the intercessors and the character. I decided to put 2 Talos into the intercessors and 1 into the character. About 10 attacks from the Talos into the intercessors, wiped them out, and I did 3 wounds to the character. It would have been 6 wounds, outright killing him, but he does have the special war gear frost armor, which -1s all damage to him. So I was only able to do 3. Then he resumed back. He went with his Terminators. Surprising, he missed with the Power Fist, and the Chain Fist did 4 damage, and I managed to feel no pain 3 out of the 4. I was like, wow, pretty impressive. And the other character into the 2-man Talos unit didn't do it. He whiffed. My attacks back. The Ravager managed to actually kill a Terminator, surprisingly. I mean, the Terminator did only have 1 wound left, but he did kill it. And my 2-man Talos unit did 4 wounds to the character. So we almost had the character destroyed. But overall, it was not looking good in his favor right there. Tables were turning. So, my turn 3. I get 10 points because now I have 2 objectives, finally. Finally getting on that objective scoring game. The first thing I did was retreat the Cowboy Warrior, who managed to live the assault phase through the intercessors that charged them, and move the Venom up, hopefully to get the, kill off those intercessors once and for all. Other than that, I debated about moving my Ravager out of combat with the Terminator, but after fact-checking that I cannot move and shoot, like in the old edition, I decided to just leave him in there and hope for the best. Since I do have 9 shots with 3 disintegrator cannons. And seeing how it's turn 3, I dropped in the Witch Cults into the back line. So I had the 10 witches drop in the back corner, hopefully trying to get the Blood Claws in close combat, and I dropped the Succubus behind the Long Fangs. I mean, they're both next to each other, but I put them on opposite ends. So that was the goal. Get in combat with the Long Fangs and the Blood Claws, and hopefully kill both of them. One of my Venoms that I had retreated goes down to the last Grey Hunter, the last 2 Grey Hunters, and wipes the floor with them. We finally kill off the last Grey Hunters in my near my deployment zone. So the Ravager with the 2 disintegrator cannons in the Darklands focus fires onto Ragnar, and we obliterate him. We did 10 damage to him, so definitely not coming back after that one. The Ravager that's in close combat, even with the -1 to hit, shot the Terminator and eliminated him. The Rid of the Living Muse played a big factor with these vehicles because rerolling 1s to hit and rerolling 1s to wound is nice. I'm going to be very sad when I lose that ability when we go to the core rules and all that other stuff. The Venom in the back corner with the living Cowboy Warrior managed to kill 2 intercessors, leaving 1 alive. And now it's pretty much my shooting. Charges, I charged the Succubus and the Witches into their respective targets. Witches into the Blood Claws, Succubus into Long Fangs, and I charged the Venom, Cowboy Venom, into the guy in the back. And I charged the other Venom, I guess I misspoke earlier. I charged the other Venom into the other Grey Hunter that's in the other corner. So the Venom in enemy deployment zone, I did 1 damage to the guy, so he's still up and kicking. the witches into the blood claws, I wipe out. Hooray, we did it. I would hope so with so many attacks. My succubus lost combat. She actually took a wound and didn't kill anyone at all. Kind of sad. And the Primaris Lieutenant manages to kill a Talos, but I did finish off him as well. And the Captain on Wolf takes another 3 damage, alive with 1 wound. We'll have 7 wounds total. So, by the end of that turn, I had gotten another 3 points for engage on all fronts, and I got 6 points for killing 2 characters, which was the Primaris Lieutenant and Ragnar. So the score by the end of turn 3 is 48 Space Wolves, 32 Dark Eldar. But going by the end of turn 3, we could pretty much see that the Space Wolves don't have much fight left. Scores 0 points because he's no longer on any objectives, since my Venom killed 1 guy in the corner closest to me. The other Cavalite Venom in the other corner managed to wound the guy, but was still contested because I had 1 Cavalite Warrior on the objective. So he moves his Hounds of Mordecai up to the Witches and decides to spend a stratagem to turn off my Opsect. I don't know what he's planning to do. I don't know why he would honestly spend a CP to do this, but if he wants to hopefully take it, then I guess that's what he's trying to do. Then he moves up the Phobos Lieutenant to kill my Venom that killed off his Grey Hunter. In the shooting phase, with his Phobos Lieutenant, he shoots my Venom. Does decent amount of damage, but I do manage to live with 1 wound. And he shoots the Hounds of Mordecai into the Witches, which kills a lot, but still kicking. In the charge phase, he charges the Lieutenant and fails charge. He spends a CP and still fails to charge. So I got lucky with that one, seeing how I'm basically empty. The Hounds into the Witches, and it doesn't do too much. He only kills about 3. And I still have about 3 Witches after all that, and I did manage to take down 2 in close combat. And then for the Talos, they also take down the finally, and he does spend 2 CP to do for death does duty end for his captain, which didn't do anything for him. I didn't lose anything. Died. So end of that turn, he basically scored nothing, and we pretty much called it there. Because my Venom would go up and pick up his Phobos Lieutenant, and if that didn't work, I had my Ravagers come up behind it to make sure that it got cleaned up. My Succubus did kill the Long Fangs, and then would have just gone into the Hounds of Mordecai and maybe cleaned them up. Who knows? Not really positive given how bad I was rolling for her. And Natalis would have just gone up and cleaned up the last Intercessor if I didn't kill it in close combat or shooting, and if that, the Witches and Succubus would have left combat for the Talos to overcharge into the Hounds of Mordecai. So overall, after speed running through the last 2 turns, the final score was 48 to 84. Now, I get that many points because I did kill all his characters, which he did have 5 of, so 15 points. He didn't kill my 2 Talos units or my Ravager. That's another 15 points, 30 points there. I got 14 points for engaged on all fronts because I didn't manage to get to the other table quarter turn 1. So I only scored 2 points for that. And for the primary, I scored 40 points. Short 5 because turn 2 or turn 3 or turn 4. If I just scored 5 points in any of those, an extra 5 points in any of those turns, I would have maxed it out. But yeah, that's that. Overall, I played a little bit too aggressive, though I was hoping, when I say I play too aggressive, I meant I play aggressive early game because of the Venoms that I just sent out there to hopefully kill off the Grey Hunters. Didn't work out for me at all. They were supposed to eliminate them. What I should have probably done was get all 3 of them and focus on the closest Grey Hunter unit instead of splitting them up like that. But I was a little confident that I could do it. Shouldn't have been too confident. Other than that, I mean, everything went pretty much according to plan, or better. I think the only miscalculations I did was I was a little too aggressive with my Venoms on turn 1 and turn 2. Because I really wanted to kill off those wolves and intercessors, and I really wanted to kill off the Grey Hunters. I should have focused down the Blood Claws when I had the chance, and I should have charged them to deny him more points. But other than that, I'm very happy with how I ran the army. Obviously, I don't normally run Riches. I don't think they're that great, in my opinion. I'd rather have more Coven or Cabalites. But seeing how we're getting a new book, which seems like we're going to be getting a new book sometime in March and not February, I wanted to just give the army another shot. Give it a good go. This is my main army. I do mainly play Dark Eldar. I know my first battle port was Space Marines, but that was only to just play around with. I do like playing other armies, and not always just Dark Eldar. But if I had to pick a main, it would be Dark Eldar. But yeah, that's that. I will try to get this video up Sunday, the 21st. If not, it will be up on the 22nd, hopefully. Be sure to just leave a comment, tell me on stuff I can improve on, criticisms, pictures. I mean, I want feedback to make anything better. I don't care if you say negative things, you know. Any constructive criticism helps me improve. But until next time, I will see you at the next battle report. See ya.